Hey, what's up guys, DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're doing some Code Talker test hands. So I'm really excited for you guys because this was actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Dean, and this deck is a crazy awesome combo-based deck that can make some insane boards. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards like getting your name stripped during a single video, getting a signed cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron along with test hands. And definitely give Dean some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's get straight on into this one, guys. So this deck is a really amazing Cyverse deck that basically combos out and goes into all sorts of different link monsters. It's really amazing what you can actually do with this deck because there's so many different combo lines that you can actually go for. And the really neat thing is you can actually go against different decks with this deck and make some really good boards to be able to counter them. I love the way that it basically just combos out the exact link monster that you need at the perfect time, which is just really cool. And it can make use of just about any generic link monster in the game, which is super helpful for this deck. So after we pile shuffle the deck, because you guys know that is dad rule number one, you got to pile shuffle the deck because you don't want to break. We're going to go ahead and give the deck a quick shuffle and see what we can actually pull off for some test hands, because this deck just makes some insanely powerful boards, which is really nice. So now that we got the deck shuffled, let's go ahead and see what we can do. So we're going to draw into a copy of Code Generator, which is pretty good, a copy of Formud Skipper, Cynet Mining, Code Converter, and a copy of Cynet Mining, which is pretty good actually because we have some extenders in our hand. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and activate our copy of our Cynet Mining, sending a copy of Cynet Mining to the graveyard because we're trying to get to a searcher in this deck. So we're going to go ahead and search out the best starter in this entire deck, and that is a single copy of Lady Debug. It all starts here with Lady Debug because once you normal summon this card to your side of the field, you're then going to search from the deck a copy of Code Talker, or Microcoder, excuse me. Once you go ahead and search out that copy of Microcoder, it has a really good effect to be able to use itself as a link material in the hand, just like your copy of Code Generator. But this card actually will give us a search, which is pretty good. So now we're going to summon out a copy of our Code Talker. Code Talker is a really good card that you want to start with in here because this card is just a link to that requires any 2 effect monsters to actually summon it to your side of the field. So it's very easy to start your plays from here. Now your copy of your Microcoder in the graveyard will actually go off and search from the deck a copy of Cynet Codex. Now Cynet Codex is an insanely powerful card. If you guys are unfamiliar with this card, let's take a quick peek at what this card actually does, because this card is the entire deck. What this card does is if a Code Talker monster is special summoned from the extra deck to your field, then you can target one of those monsters and add a Cyverse monster with the same attribute from your deck to your hand. And also you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except for Cyverse monsters, even if this card leaves the field. You can't add other monsters with the same attribute to your hand by the effect of Cynet Codex this turn, and you can only activate the effect of Cynet Codex once per chain. So this card is an extremely powerful card that basically lets us search just about any card that we need in the deck depending on the attribute of the Code Talker we summon. So for example, we're going to go ahead and activate the copy of our Cynet Codex, and then we're going to go ahead and link these 2 monsters away for a copy of Transcode. And then once we do, this is the greatest example for it, you're going to use the effect of the Cynet Codex to target your copy of your Transcode Talker to be able to search an Earth monster from the deck. Doesn't matter what it is, you just search any Earth monster that you want from your deck. So we're actually going to search from the deck a copy of the Adagnister shield because we already had the copy of the Code Generator in our hand to line up our plays. So at this point, you're going to use the copy of the Code Generator that we actually linked away with, and we're going to special summon from the, or actually send to the graveyard, excuse me. We're actually going to send to the graveyard a copy of Dotscaper because Dotscaper will actually special summon itself back from the grave, which is super helpful for this deck. So we're going to special summon this card way down here because you don't want it in the way. And at this point, you can actually use the effect of your Transcode Talker to bring back your copy of your Code Talker monster, which is really helpful for this lineup because now you're getting your extenders on your field and you're going to start getting your searches. So now that we brought that card back with the effect of the Transcode Talker, we're just going to special summon out a Cyverse Converter, which is basically just a free special summon. And we're going to go ahead and link these 2 monsters, or excuse me, we're going to link these 2 monsters away, and we're going to summon out a copy of Xcode Talker. Xcode Talker is going to help us out a lot because at this point, the effect of the X-Code Talker will actually resolve like this, where you'll go ahead and use this as Chainlink 1 and Chainlink 2 to chain block it and lock down the zone above your copy of your Transcode Talker to be able to make it so that your opponent can't special summon or normal summon any monster to that zone, which is really good, or summon it all. And we're going to use the effect of the Cynet Codex to be able to search a wind monster from the deck, which I'm actually going to search the Link Flyer from the deck to be able to just special summon that card to my side of the field to keep going. So we're going to go ahead and special summon that card to the side of the field, link these two away, and then at this point we're going to summon out our copy of Code Talker Inverted. Code Talker Inverted is going to help us out a lot, because you're actually going to resolve this very interesting. This is one of the few times in this actual deck that the links actually matter. Well, the links always matter in this deck, but the chain links are going to matter, because you're going to go chain link 1, chain link 2, and if you don't already have Formud Skipper in your hand like I do, you're going to search out the copy of the Formud Skipper to special summon to your field. But you're going to go ahead and search any light monster that you need from the deck to give you an extension play, which I'm actually going to search from the deck a copy of Backup Secretary, which is my backup search if I've already got my copy of Formud Skipper. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and use the effect of the Code Talker Inverted to special summon out to our side of the field the Formud Skipper, and then link both of these monsters away to summon out a copy of our, where is it? The Water Code Talker. This card is really, really good, because once you summon it to your field, you're going to get an additional search of an additional water monster. Because now at this point, we've searched out a earth, a water, a wind, and a light. We haven't searched dark, and we have not searched fire, but you don't search fire in this build. So after you've done that, you're going to go ahead and special summon it to your side of the field, or excuse me, once you link this away, you're actually going to get an additional search of the Parallel Exceed, because the Formud Skipper was used as a link material, which is pretty cool for this deck. I'm having to resist shuffling the deck, because with this deck, you're going to be searching so much, you might as well not shuffle the deck until you're going to have to actually draw, or until you've ended your combo. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and special summon to our side of the field the copy of the Backup Secretary. And once you do that, you can go ahead and link this card away for a copy of our Linkuriboh, which is super helpful to be able to summon to the field, because at this point, you can special summon out the Parallel Exceeds here, and then you can special summon out an additional Parallel Exceeds from the deck to your side of the field. Now, the only thing about these two cards is they're going to half the attack points and half the level, which is important to keep in mind as you play them, because they are no longer level 8s, which is really, really, really important for this lineup. So at this point, you have all sorts of different plays you can go for with this particular setup. You can go ahead and link away some of your monsters to clean up the board a little bit, which is totally fine if you want to go ahead and clean up the board. And you might see a different lineup of where I'm going to go, which is totally fine for you guys. If you want to play a different lineup from where I'm about to go with this hand, that's totally fine. So we're going to go ahead and link away these two monsters, and I'm going to go ahead and summon out to my side of the field a copy of Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax, because this card is extremely good to be able to just get your plays set up. And then we're going to go ahead and link these two monsters away on our side of the field, which actually you can go ahead and use the effect of the Adagnister monster targeting this to negate its effect, which is totally fine to get you a free special summon. We're going to go ahead and link these three monsters away to be able to summon out to our side of the field another link monster, which is going to be our copy of our Trigate Wizard. Now, the Trigate Wizard is very important for this lineup, because you're going to have all these different really good monsters, but you really want to get to that Trigate Wizard, because it's going to give you all those really good plays. So now we're going to go ahead and link these two monsters away and summon out a copy of our Access Code Talker. I'm going to summon him up here because he is going to be a link, or he's going to be targeting a link 3, which is going to be the copy of the Transcode Talker. Now, if you're going second at this point, you've probably won, because you've got the copy of the Access Code Talker that's at 53, and you have the copy of the Mech Knight Crusadia Avermax. So you might not even have to go further with this lineup, but you can go a little bit further if you want to for this setup. You can even not go into the copy of the Access Code Talker and go a different way if you want to go for a different lineup, because at this point, all you really need to summon to your side of the field is another monster to point right here. So if you don't want to go for that copy of Access Code Talker, I was just showing you guys that you could go for this to help you just win the game at that point. You can actually take one step back, put that copy of that back there, and we're going to put back our copy of our Parallel Exceeds back down here, which is what we had set up. And then at this point, you can actually go into a little bit different of a route where you can actually special summon out the copy of the Scriptron by banishing banishing any of the monsters that you don't need from the graveyard, which we're just going to go ahead and banish the Lady Debug from the graveyard. So once you get rid of that card, we're going to go ahead and step into a different route with this lineup and link these two monsters away right here, and we're going to summon out to our side of the field a copy of Splash Magician, the Splash Mage. Splash Mage is really good because it can special summon a monster back from the graveyard, which is super helpful because at this point all you're trying to do is get a lockdown between the 4 arrows or the 3 arrows of your Tri-Gate Wizard. So we're going to use the effect of our Scriptron, which has the ability that if this card is sent to the graveyard as a material for a link summon of a Cyverse monster, you can target one of your banished monsters and shuffle it into the deck, which is our copy of our Lady Debug, just to give us that additional search that we might need later on as a great top deck. So now that we shuffle that card into the deck, you can actually use the effect of your Splash Mage to be able to special summon back one of your monsters, which we're just going to special summon back the backup Secretary. It doesn't matter which one you summon, as long as you can summon it to your side of the field, it's fine, because now at this point we're going to link these two monsters away, and you're going to summon out a copy of your Transcode Talker right here. Now you can go a little bit different of a route if you want to summon out a different monster here. You can leave the copy of the Splash Mage here, leave this on the field, and you can actually go right here for the copy of the Access Code Talker, which is a little different of a lineup, but it's totally fine because now you're going to get a search off the Signet Codex because we haven't searched Dark. That's important about keeping up with what you've actually searched with this particular card because it's going to give you more place. And then here's my personal tech of this deck that I really like is a copy of Cross Debug. Cross Debug can special summon itself to your side of the field, which is actually the end of the combo that I'm going to be shuffling up the deck. You can actually use the effect of the Cross Debug to special summon itself to your side of the field as the final extender, which is when I get this field, because then at this point you can go ahead and link away the copy of the Cross Debug and the copy of the Splash Mage to summon out your copy of Transcode Talker, which now at this point is pointing at your copy of your Tri-Gate Wizard, giving you the full lock where you have a copy of Access Code that's 53, your copy of the Tri-Gate Wizard, Transcode Talker, and a copy of Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avermax, which is super helpful. Now you can't U-Link with this board, but that's okay. You don't really need to at this point because link summoning, you can summon anything you want like Fusion, Synchro, XZ into other zones. So the U-Link isn't quite as powerful as it used to be. So getting this particular field is totally fine because you have a total OTK lockdown against your opponent. You have a negate here. You have this card boosting your monster up. This is at 53. And you have the copy of Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avermax that can basically walk through any monster that's special summon, which is really good. This is a really good setup if you're looking for a really good board for Code Talkers. So let's go ahead and see what we can do. And the really cool thing about this deck is that I will mention to you guys is you guys might have seen a totally different line than I did, which is okay about this deck because this deck is a very free deck to be able to play because basically what you're trying to do is just summon out a bunch of link monsters. If the board works for you, then it's okay. And you can play all sorts of different link monsters in the extra deck. You can even play stuff like Update Jammer. I'm not playing Update Jammer in this build because I don't really go in for the OTK. I like for the negation board that I just established, where I don't make a Access Code Talker that can attack twice at 53. You can go that route, and that is totally fine. I just like the Tri-Gate Wizard route, where you're actually establishing that Tri-Gate Wizard with an additional negate on the field is super good. But you can kind of change up the extra deck how you want, which is what's really nice about this deck. And I really like that because it's very interchangeable. It helps out a lot with this deck to be interchangeable and have all those different options with your Cyverse archetype. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for the next one. So we're going to go ahead and draw. We're going to draw into a copy of Salamangreat Great Gazelle, which is actually a pretty good normal summon in this deck. A copy of Microcoder, another copy of Microcoder, Parallel Exceed, and a copy of our World Legacy Succession. So this is still a pretty good hand. We have a really good lineup because we have the effect of our Salamangreat Great Gazelle. This is where this card actually comes up, and we're going to normal summon this card out to our side of the field, which has the ability, if this card is normal or special summoned to your side of the field, you can send a Salamangreat Great card from your deck to the graveyard. Now we're going to go ahead and send from the deck to the grave our copy of Spinny, which is why we play that one copy of Spinny in the deck, is because you're going to be able to send it to the graveyard and then bring it back to the field to essentially use it as an additional link summon, which is super good for this build. So at this point, you're going to go ahead and use these two monsters on your side of the field to go into that combo all over again, basically, and summon out your copy of the Code Talker. And every setup that you get might be a little bit different. You might not get the Access Code Talker up here. You might not have this here. But usually in the end board, you will have the copy of the Avermax over here and the Tri-Gate right in the middle. Because I like to work from right to left with this particular deck because it helps out a lot with the link arrows of the copy of the Trans Code Talker, putting it here. So at this point, you're going to go ahead and summon out your copy of the Code Talker. And once you do, you're going to go ahead and use the effect of the microcoder to be able to search a copy of Signet Codex. So once we do, we're going to go ahead and activate that card on our side of the field and use the effect of our parallel. You can actually save the parallel XZ. Let's save the parallel XZ because I don't want to overcrowd the field. We're going to go ahead and use the copies of the Salamangreat Gazelle and the Code Talker to go into that copy of Transcode. This is for basic combos for this deck. And then we're going to go ahead and use the copy of the Signet Codex. Do kind of the same thing that we did before, but this time we have a little bit more of an extending play with the copy of the Parallel Exceed in the hand already, and the effect of our World Legacy Succession, which is a Monster Reborn. So at this point, you're going to go ahead and use the effect of the Signet Codex, grab the copy of the Code Generator, use the copy of the Transcode to bring back to your side of the field the Code Talker, and then go ahead and link these two monsters away to be able to go for a copy of our Xcode. Xcode is going to be able to go again. This is where you actually go into a chain link to chain block where you go chain link 1, 2, and then 3. This is going to lock down the zone above it. This is going to send something from your deck to the graveyard, which we're going to send from our deck to the grave, the copy of Dotscaper. Once you send that Dotscaper, you're going to use the effect of the Signet Codex. And I usually always search out that copy of the Link Flyer. Unless I already have it, then I search out the copy of the Parallel Exceed. So at this point, we're going to bring this card back to our side of the field, and we're going to kind of keep going in that same line that we did before. We're going to special summon out the Link Flyer, and then link these away for the Code Talker inverted. Now, this is where it gets a little bit different, because we already have the Parallel Exceed in the hand. You can actually special summon out a different monster, which is our copy of our Cyverse Gadget. Cyverse Gadget is a little bit different. I usually go for the Formud Skipper if I don't already have the copy of the Parallel Exceed in the hand, because it will search a level 5 or higher Cyverse monster when it's used as link material. So the effect of your Cyverse Gadget, basically when it's used as a link material, if this card is sent from the field to the grave, you can special summon a Cyverse Gadget from the deck, or from your, just anywhere, which is really cool. So we're going to go ahead and link or summon this card to your side of the field with the Code Talker inverted, and then we're going to go ahead and link these two monsters away to be able to summon out our copy of the Water Code Talker monster all over again, and we're going to get the token this time on our side of the field because of the effect of our Cyverse Gadget. Now this card is going to be able to get us an additional card from the deck, which I'm actually going to search out a copy of Script Drawn to be able to go in for the additional plays, because you can basically summon this card at any point, which is what's really cool about this lineup. And we're going to go ahead and link summon into the Link Rebo by using the token on our side of the field, because it just requires a level 4 or lower Cyverse monster, and this is actually a Cyverse Light monster, so you can use it in the combo. So at this point, now that we summon the Link Rebo, you can special summon out the copy of the Parallel Exceeds all over again to be able to go in for that additional copy of the Parallel Exceeds from the deck, which is going to help us out a lot to be able to get that card out on our side of the field so we can keep those plays rolling and go in for our crazy awesome board. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and link these two monsters away on our side of the field. And at this point, you can go for a copy of Access Code if you want to get that Dark Search. It's totally up to you. You can go in for a copy of your Firewall Dragon. You can go in for anything that you really want to go for at this particular section of the video, because it's kind of up to you. It's what you feel like you need for this lineup for all these crazy plays. I'm actually going to go for Firewall Dragon in this particular situation because it's going to help us out a lot to go in for that copy of Firewall Dragon, so we can then keep linking and link climbing against the opponent, because you can go in for some crazy good advantage with this lineup. So after you go in for that copy of the Firewall Dragon, we're going to go ahead and special summon out to our side of the field a copy of another monster, because you have the World Legacy Succession that can bring a monster back from the graveyard. Now you special summon into a zone a link monster points to, so I'm actually going to special summon back to my side of the field a different link monster after I link summon. So we're going to link these two monsters away, which is our Parallel Exceeds and the Transcode Talker, to be able to summon out a copy of Access Code Talker. Access Code Talker is going to help us out a lot in in this situation. I'm showing you guys a different route that you can actually go. Summon out the copy of the access code talker, summon out the copy of that, target your transcode in the graveyard, give it 54, and then once you do that, you now have a transcode that can point right here. So at that point, you get to search a dark from the deck, which we're actually going to search out a copy of Cross Debug from the deck, use the copy of the World Legacy Succession, bring this card back over here, and then once you do that, you can special summon out the copy of the Cross Debug, link it away, and then once you link that copy of the Cross Debug away, you can actually bring out a copy of your Salamangreat Bailmon to your side of the field, which will get you an additional search from the deck of a Salamangreat Sanctuary, which will give it a little bit of protection, which is really, really good. It was right there at the bottom. So we're actually going to activate the copy of the Salamangreat Sanctuary, and it will let us reincarnate summon, which you guys are familiar with our Salamangreat lineup. You can actually reincarnate summon using one to summon out another copy of the same card. But the really neat thing is when this is in the graveyard, it will actually protect the copy of the Bailmon. Being able to establish that U-Link is just really good. Now, the copy of the World Legacy Succession was used to be able to summon out the copy of the transcode talker, and you can keep going, which is what's really crazy. You can keep going with this lineup because you have the effect of the Scriptron to be able to special summon itself to your side of the field by banishing any of the cards that you need in the graveyard that you kind of want to shuffle back into the deck, like our copy of our Salamangreat Gazelle. You can shuffle back your copy of Microcoder. If you play a third Parallel Exceed, you could shuffle this card back. Totally up to you what you want to shuffle back. Dotscaper, Link Flyer, whatever you want. Any of the cards that you've used as link material, you can just shuffle those cards back and get them again later. I'm going to just go ahead and banish the copy of the Dotscaper. If you haven't already used Dotscaper, this is a really good combo to be able to banish it with this and then bring it back to the field. And we're going to go ahead and use that on the field to be able to establish that crazy, crazy board. And you can keep going. If you kind of want to keep climbing, you can keep climbing. Basically, at this point, you're kind of already locked in for this crazy good board. You don't really need to keep going, which is totally fine. You can make a copy of Avermax if you want to make the Avermax right here by linking these two away, but you're going to break your U-Link. But basically that's your lineup. You don't really have to keep going with all this crazy board because you've already got pretty much the lineup that's going to just stop the opponent from doing anything at all. You can even use the copy of the Splash Mage and bring back this card to your side of the field by linking these two away, or you can leave them as is and just bring out the Scriptron, or you can save the Scriptron for another play next turn with these two monsters to then use the Splash Mage to then climb into a copy of Avermax if you do need to combo into the Avermax, which is what's really neat. So you have all these different combos. You can U-Link with this deck like I showed you guys. You can go into that really awesome play, which I'll go ahead and step back really quick and show you guys that one just really quickly what the board looks like, where you have the access code up here, you have the Avermax right here, you have the copy of the Trigate over here, and you have the copy of the transcode talker over here, which was really cool where you have that lineup. So you have all these different combo lines that you can actually go into. And the really neat thing is the combos are kind of limitless because as long as they keep releasing Cyverse monsters for this deck, you're going to be able to keep going into all sorts of different plays with this deck. And there'll always be, just with one new card for this deck, you'll get all sorts of really cool plays. Because I remember when Firewall was the card for this deck, and with the Firewall in the field, you can even use it to get cards back from the graveyard for extenders, which is what's really neat. I really like that in this deck to be able to use the Firewall. So you could keep going with that combo with this being on the field, which is why I play it in the deck. So I think that's going to do it for this one, guys, because this deck just has so many different ways that you can actually play the field. I wanted to show you guys the consistency of the deck and show you guys how to make that Trigate field, where you have Trigate still, which is a really good card. That card, plus your copy of Avermax and the access code, and your copy of transcode, and then the full U-Link was just really cool. I think that pretty much shows the main two ways to play the deck. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, guys. Definitely give Dean some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such a crazy cool deck. It's a lot of fun to be able to play because as you play this deck, and as I've learned from playing this deck, is you never know all the combos with it, which is what's really neat. There's always that one combo that as you're playing with it, you're kind of like, oh, wow, I can actually do that. I can link summon here, here, and here, and it equals this field. And there's really cool combo lines, and there's all sorts of different texts for the deck, too, to make it your own, which is really fun for this build. So, anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad. If you guys would like to check out the deck profile for this one, they are always down in the description down below for every test hand video, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.